Nandina respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are always engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and dancing. They are just like the ocean of love of God, and they're popular both with the gentle and with the ruffians, because they're not envious of anyone. Whatever they do, they are all pleasing to everyone, and they are fully blessed by Lord Chaitanya. Thus, they are engaged in missionary activities meant to deliver all the conditioned souls in the material universe.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of, because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very much enriched in understanding Lord Chaitanya, and who are thus expert in narrating his transcendental qualities. They can purify all conditioned souls from the reactions of their sensitive activities by pouring upon them the transcendental songs about Govinda. As such, they are very expert in increasing the limits of the ocean of transcendental bliss, and they are the saviors of the living entities from the devouring mouth of impersonal liberation.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who kicked off all association of aristocracy as insignificant. In order to deliver the poor conditioned souls, they accept one cost, treating them as merchants. But they were always merged in the ecstatic ocean of the gopis' love for Krishna, and they bathed always and repeatedly in the waves of that ocean.
Offer my respectful obeisances in the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami. We're always engaged in worshiping Radha Krishna and the transcendental land of Vrindavan, where there are beautiful trees full of fruits and flowers, which have under their roots all valuable jewels. Goswamis are perfectly competent to bestow upon living ladies the greatest boon of the golden wife.
Which one is it? We're up to number 8?
Six.
With great delight, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who were sometimes on the bank of the Radhakund lake, sometimes on the shores of the Yamuna, and sometimes in Vrindavan, Vamshi Bhatt. As they sang of Krishna's qualities at these places, they appeared just like madmen in full ecstasy of love for him, exhibiting different transcendental symptoms in their bodies, and they were immersed in the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness.
Can't you agree?
Yeah.
7.
That was 7, so it has to be 6.
This is 8. What am I reading?
You just read
6.
We just read 6.
We just read 6.
7.
No.
We just read 7?
7.
Yeah, you read 7.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who chanted very loudly everywhere in Vrindavan, shouting in great distress, "O Queen of Vrindavan Radharani, O Lalita, O son of Nandamarj, where are you all now? Are you in the hill of Govardhan, or are you under the trees on the bank of the Yamuna? Where are you?" These were their moods in executing Krishna consciousness. Shri Jiva Goswami Prabhu's ki jai.
Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki jai.
Number 6 hasn't been read yet.
I'm going to read it.
Read 6. You got it. Can we read it?
Yeah.
Offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami, Sri Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who were engaged in chanting the holy names of the Lord and bowing down in a scheduled measurement. In this way, they utilized their valuable lives, and executing these devotional activities, they conquered overeating and sleeping, and were always meek and humble, enchanted by remembering transcendental qualities of Sri Radha and Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvashesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatarane Om Jnana Timarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Nirvana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasinubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a very nice purport by Srila Prabhupada to Adi Leela chapter 10 verse 85, the branches of the Chaitanya tree, description of Rupa Goswami. Tanra Madhye Rupa Sanantan Bada Sakar Anupam Jiva Rajendradi Upashaka. Among these branches, Rupa and Sanat were principal, Anupam, Jiva Goswami, and others headed by Rajendra were their sub-branches. Purport: in the Gaura-Gonadesh Deepika, verse 195, it is said that Srila Jiva Goswami was formerly Vilas Manjari Gopi. From his very childhood, Jiva Goswami was greatly fond of Srimad Bhagavatam. He later came to Navadvip to study Sanskrit, and following in the footsteps of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he circumambulated the entire Navadvip Dham. After visiting Navadvip Dham, he went to Benares to study Sanskrit under Madhusudana Vachaspati. And after finishing his studies in Benares, he went to Vrindavan and took shelter of his uncles, Sri Rupa and Sanatan. So Rupa and Sanatans had a brother named Anupam who died in, you can say prematurely, not as an old man, when earlier on, even before Rupa and Sanatan had completely become disciples of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Jiva Goswami was orphaned without a father, and he took shelter of his uncles, Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. This is described in Bhakti Ratnakar. As far as our information goes, Srila Jiva Goswami composed and edited at least 25 books. They are very much celebrated, and they are listed as follows. One, Harinamamrita Vyakarana, which is an explanation of the glories of the holy name. Sutra Malika. 3. Dhatu Sangraha. 4. Krishnarcha Deepika. 5. Gopal Virudavali. That's flowing poetry or prose in praise of Gopal, Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. 6. Rasamrita Sesha. 7. Sri Madhav Mahotsava. This Madhav Mahotsava was translated recently, and it is a very detailed and glorious account of one of Krishna's leelas with the cowherd boys and cowherd girls. 8. Sri Sankalpa Kalpavriksha. Why don't you just do all the ripping that's going to be done now?
Okay.
Good to have all that done beforehand when the box is open. Just tying the ribbons, you know. Okay. The 9th book is called Bhavarta Suchaka Champu. 10. Gopal Tapani Tika. 11. A commentary on the Brahma Samhita. 12. A commentary on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Jiva Goswami is giving further elaboration on Srila Rupa Goswami's important books. Similarly, hundreds of years later, that was also done by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. 13. A commentary on the Ujjvala Nilamani. 14. A commentary on the Yoga Sara Stava. 15. A commentary on the Gayatri Mantra as described in the Agni Purana. 16. A description of the Lord's lotus feet derived from the Padma Purana. 17. A description of the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. 18. Gopal Champu in 2 parts. And 19 through 25, the 7 Sandarbhas, and here they are listed. It's good to know these. Krama, Tattva Sandarbha, Bhagavat Sandarbha, Paramatma Sandarbha, Krishna Sandarbha, Bhakti Sandarbha, and Priti Sandarbha. Seven. Starting with Krama. Tattva. Tattva is very famous. And it's understood that these progressive Sandarbhas culminate in the topmost revelation and knowledge of the ultimate goal, love of Godhead, prema, in the Priti Sandarbha. Priti is a confidential name synonymous with prema. Priti, prema, Priti. After the disappearance of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami in Vrindavan, Srila Jiva Goswami became the Acharya of all the Vaishnavas in Bengal, Orissa, and the rest of the world. So this presence of the spiritual master is very important. The spiritual master, the actual Acharya, he's officiating over a very important post or position, and all other acharyas or devotees, not acharya, they, like we say, Prabhupada, he who, as he whom, whose at whose feet all other masters sit. So one might be qualified in one's own right on one level to act as a spiritual master, even preacher, a Brahmin, but in the presence of the previous disciplic link. In other words, you are coming, and the disciple, that would be true not just for the disciple, but for the direct disciple, but the not brother, but the cousin or the nephew. Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami was the nephew of Rupa Goswami. So it's described here, after the departure of Rupa and Sanatana, then by rightful etiquette, even though Jiva Goswami was certainly qualified, as an eternal associate of the Lord, in the manifest presence of Rupa and Sanatana, but the etiquette is that the disciple will not take disciples of his own or take an officiating position on practically any level in the presence of the spiritual master who is on the planet. This is a very important part of etiquette. If there is a need, a very warranted need, or the Acharya feels useful on his order, he will give higher duties and responsibilities on my order to his qualified disciples. But from the disciple's point of view, he should not be eager or ambitious for such things. He always considers himself, whether the spiritual master is present or certainly when the spiritual master is departed, this is actually the real symptom that one should examine and understand, the mood of humility of the disciple who has become the next Acharya, that he is giving all credit to his spiritual master. And as we were hearing this morning in the preaching, is the essence reading, this is the secret to empowerment, how to actually be blessed with the necessary potency, bhakti shakti, to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. So Jiva Goswami said, Lord Chaitanya, he's Krishna, I will come and teach the process of devotion to myself. by becoming a devotee. Just Prabhupada would give an easy example. The teacher is teaching little children A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Alright? So, to instruct the students, he'll come and write A and B, take their hand. And it's not that he's learning the alphabet, but he's very kindly putting himself in the position of the young student and showing them how to do it, and simultaneously showing how to do it, giving them the faith and confidence and enthusiasm that they can do it. That is an actual teacher. So similarly, his disciples of Lord Chaitanya, they follow in that exact example. Srila Jiva Goswami became the Acharya of all the Vaishnavas in Bengal. Actual Acharya is self-manifest, is self-effulgent, and there are very exalted qualifications, highly praiseworthy qualifications of the Acharya. All of his, he teaches the Vedas by his direct example, and all of his qualities are sublime. There's a verse that states like that. And this is the system that Krishna likes. He wants to be approached through his bona fide pure devotees. By rendering service at the lotus feet of the bona fide spiritual master, one can develop his original ecstasy in service to Krishna, the slayer of the Mora demon. So he became the Acharya of all the Vaishnavas in Bengal, or Rissa, which at that time was really maybe the only place where it was happening, but Prabhupada says here, and the rest of the world. Yeah, okay. Uttar Pradesh. And it is he who used to guide them in their devotional service. In Vrindavan, he established the Radha Damodar temple, where after retirement, we had the opportunity to live from 1962 until 1965, when we decided to come to the United States of America.
God bless
When Jiva Goswami was still present, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami compiled his famous Chaitanya Charitamrita. Later, Srila Jiva Goswami inspired Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Dukhi Krishna Das, of course, that was Shamananda, to preach Krishna consciousness in Bengal. So this is another great bona fide symptom of the Acharya, is that from him other most exalted Acharyas emerge. Narottam Das Thakur, Shamananda Prabhu, Shamananda Prabhu, Srinivasacharya. Jiva Goswami was informed, and it was he that deputed them to take the Goswami literatures for distribution. It was on his order, just like Srila Prabhupada is ordering us. Where is book? Where is book? Distribute books. Distribute books. Actually, there's always a marathon going on, and that marathon is to flood the entire world with Krishna consciousness and make devotees. So we just had an inner marathon within the greater marathon.
That's true.
We're always on the marathon.
The whole life is marathon.
Right. That's called the This is called the Anandambudhi Vardhanam Marathon.
Wow.
For the pleasure of their lordship, Srila Prabhupada, for the Anandambudhi Marathon we distributed yesterday. Come up with different names like the Utsahan Nishchaya Daryat Marathon.
Wow, that's a good one. Especially in subway.
Jiva Goswami was informed that all the manuscripts that had been collected from Vrindavan and sent to Bengal for preaching purposes were plundered near Vishnupur in Bengal, but later received the information that the books had been recovered. Srila Jiva Goswami awarded the designation Kaviraj to Ramachandra Sen, a disciple of Srinivasacharya's, and to Ramachandra's younger brother Govinda. While Jiva Goswami was present, Srimati Janavadevi, the pleasure potency of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, went to Vrindavan with a few devotees. Jiva Goswami was very kind to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the Vaishnavas from Bengal. Whoever went to Vrindavan, he provided with a residence and prasadam.
Oh, wow.
So this is also a very wonderful qualification of the Acharya. Of course, people in general look to see people who are kind and very concerned for others' needs and comforts and happiness. And people write all kinds of books and become celebrated on one level or another. But the ultimate, but that's all simply a tangential offshoot or emanation, which when it comes into the material world, just like sunlight comes down through the clouds, it becomes hazy. So real being concerned for others, as mentioned, you're taking care of Krishna's devotees, seeing that they have all facility to make advancement and that a proper atmosphere is manifested and maintained that ultimately everyone can agree upon. Of course, everyone agrees that chanting Hare Krishna is the panacea to all problems and is the answer to all problems, and that all wants and ultimately all desires and everything required will be fulfilled by taking shelter of the holy name. But within that, there are, because there's so much personal diversity, ultimately on the perfected spiritual platform, but within the mission of the Lord, not that, oh, we're all just designated psychophysically different, and this makes for, differences and problems and things. But the ultimate thing is that the Lord has placed devotees in all different cultures and nomenclatures, ethnicities, positions, all over the world. Water time?
Gopal is trying to do laundry.
Nobody wants to make a copy.
The waterman is here?
Yeah.
Maybe somebody could help with that. Real quick. Like Prabhupada said, my spiritual master was born in a different family. I was born in a different family. Who knew I would come to his shelter? Simply, you American boys, how is it that you would come to me? These are all Krishna's arrangements. So the Acharya has great faith in Prabhupada said in another place, but we came together by the transcendental system. So Krishna has a supremely perfect genius and intelligence, and in the heart of every living entity, and guiding their wanderings and movements. So what to speak on the platform of seeking material pleasure and trying to fulfill material desires in the material world, Krishna's arranging that through his representative, his external energies. So how much more is he conscious of the movements of his devotees? Krishna says that I personally take charge of my devotees. So the devotee's life and where he's born and what he does and how he comes to Krishna consciousness, there's even a website that some devotees have compiled, and that many devotees who get contributed. It's called How I Came to Krishna Consciousness. Very great story. Lord Nityananda, when he would go out preaching, he would knock on the door of the householders, and then they'd open the door and he'd roll on the ground. He begged them to chant the holy name. He said, "Please give me the gift of your liberation." So, taking care of Krishna's devotees, this is a very, very guaranteed way to get the pleasure of Krishna very soon. That's for sure. So Jiva Goswami, whenever Vaishnavas from Bengal, and it's mentioned in one place that Bengali Vaishnavas there might be one empty upstairs. That Bengali Vaishnavas, because it's Bengal, it's a different climate, they would eat rice, a lot of rice. Have you ever seen Bengalis eat a lot of rice?
Big mountain.
Like a trash can lid full. So in Vrindavan, it's a different climate, so they eat roti. So the Bengali Vaishnavas, right, they would get indigestion from eating, yes, that's right. So he would provide like lime pickle and dahi to help with their digestion.
That's so
Special prashad, extra.
That's amazing.
Wherever he went to Vrindavan, he provided with a residence in Prasadam. His disciple Krishna Das Adhikari listed all the books of the Goswamis in his diaries. So now the description goes on to describe different accusations or criticisms made about Jiva Goswami, and it is shown here by Srila Prabhupada how such accusations and criticisms are unfounded, and how to completely dispel or, for lack of thinking of a more subtle word, smash such arguments. So that's it, the door is closed.
Everything is
Alright. The Sahajiyas. Sahajiyas level 3 accusations against Srila Jiva. So Sahajiya doesn't necessarily just have to mean at the extreme point that one is like dressing oneself like an eternal associate of the Lord, and through one's mundane emotions and experience just kind of putting on like some show. But it can be even all the perceivable externals and even what we consider proper behavior is there, but within one's mind, one is imagining oneself to be on a platform of advancement that one is not, and that all the complete overall package that would be there when one is on the pure devotional platform is conspicuous by its absence, and because people in general and neophyte and even to some degree above neophyte devotees, because they don't have complete experience themselves of what is the platform of pure devotional service, they might be unable to understand if an argument or criticism or some type of deviation coming from such a personality is such that there's something that's not correct. They might think it's very plausible and reasonable what this devotee is doing and saying. So Sahajiism is very, very dangerous, and it is most certainly the sacred responsibility of the actual Acharya to be himself very much fixed up in the Vaishnava philosophy, and it's described that the symptom of the Acharya is that he can defend the Vaishnava philosophy against all other systems, and more, he can train and educate his disciples and followers to come to that same position. So what we're going to hear here is very important. We should try to understand it. The Sahajiyas level 3 accusations against Srila Jiva Gosvami. This is certainly not congenial for the execution of devotional service. The first accusation concerns a materialist who is very proud of his reputation as a great Sanskrit scholar and approached Sri Rupa and Sanatan to argue with them about the revealed scriptures. So we know this story, I'll say. Some of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, as comes to mind, had gone to Radhakund to take instruction from personalities who, by and large, were revered throughout Vrindavan as being very elevated personalities. And when Prabhupada heard that, he became so angry. It's scary. The disciples had never seen him. He was like livid. He was like shaking. And he ordered these disciples to come back. And when he did, he said, "Do not become a monkey.
Oh my God.
You know, you stay with me." I forget exactly everything, but a very great danger in approaching higher topics of Krishna consciousness or reading advanced literature. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he asked Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur if he could publish the Sri Govinda Lilamrita, which is the quintessential ultimate perfection of spiritual knowledge, understanding the confidential pastimes of Sri Govinda and his topmost reveling of enjoyment, topmost enjoyment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, yes, you can publish it, and you publish one copy and you keep it for yourself. So we simply take shelter of the Acharya, and for us it's easy. Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, and his disciples who are manifesting his mood with all sincerity, humility, and honesty, and then our position is secure. We don't have to worry that we'd be in danger of being deviated. There's this story in the Upakyana Upadesh of the blind traveler wanting to get to his in-laws' house and he asked one cowherd if he could guide him. The cowherd said, "I have a lot of duties taking care of the cows here, and I can't leave them because they'll run away. So I can give you one docile," what he thought, cow, and you just hold on to the tail, and he'll guide you by and by it. You know, the miles going that way.
Can you read the full story?
You want to read it?
You don't know?
Go to-
He's been speaking.
The story is easy enough to understand, but the purport is searingly strong. This is the standard of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The blind man holding the cow's tail fallacy, number 61, page 61. Once upon a time, a blind person was going to his father-in-law's house, tracking the way with the help of his walking stick. So we think our intellect or our, whatever puny, discriminatory abilities we have, Very soon, while passing through a field, he came across a cowherd boy and asked, "Oh, brother, would you please do me a favor by leading me to my father-in-law's house?" This the cowherd replied, "I'm busy tending so many cows. If I take you to your father-in-law's house, all the cows will run away. Of course, I can do one thing for you. I can lend you a very docile and faithful cow of mine, and you can safely catch hold of her tail, and she can smoothly lead you to your in-law's house."
What the heck?
I could recommend one nice book for you, to read, like some self-help guru, what to say, what not to say, 100 different catch sayings or something, or whatever it is, people, so many books. Thus advised by the cowherd, the blind traveler firmly caught hold of the cow's tail, and the cow began walking while trailing him behind. However, or unfortunately, the cow got quite scared of the strong pulling of its tail by the blind person, and hence behaved so frantically that the blind person was virtually being pulled roughly along the road and through many thorn bushes while suffering frequent hard kicks from the cow's hind legs. As a result, the blind man's body was severely injured and his garments were all torn apart.
Oh my God.
He arrived in the dead of night in his father-in-law's house in a very wretched condition with cuts and bruises and totally naked, his clothes being completely ripped off. The servants of the in-law's house took him to be a cow thief and punched and slapped him in order to get him to release the cow's tail from its hole. Thus the blind man suffered unlimitedly. Purport: those who have ulterior motives take shelter of so-called gurus instead of a truly bona fide spiritual master and ultimately suffer badly like the blind man in this situation. Any and every person cannot lead one to the supreme abode of Godhead, and no unauthorized representative can guide us to our true welfare. It is therefore obligatory that one should take shelter of a bona fide Krishna-conscious spiritual master without any hesitation. And I'll add this, to be assured of one's own well-being. There's a nice picture of the blind person in his deepest moment of adversity there. I'll show that to our viewers.
I can't see anything.
You can turn the light on, right? You can turn the light.
You see it. You see it.
So in this material world, as we can see, that we follow something that we think it's okay, but ultimately we end up in more anxiety than when we started. Anxiety, fearfulness comes because we're not properly and completely sheltered at the lotus feet of the Lord, which is the only way to solve all the problems in this Kaler Dosa, an ocean of faults, this Kali Yuga. And only one good quality, redeeming quality, which is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is given by the Lord's pure devotees, the authorized acharya, on behalf of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. On my order, become Guru and liberate everyone in this land. First accusation concerns a materialist who is very proud of his reputation as a great Sanskrit scholar and approached Rupa and Sanatana to argue with them about the revealed scriptures. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, not wanting to waste their time, gave him a written statement that he had defeated them in a debate on the revealed scriptures. Yes, you have defeated me. Take your paper and get out of here. Go away. Thank you very much. Actual devotee does not care about fame, acclaim, reputation. It doesn't matter to him. Worldly claim and reputation. He is concerned, though, that the Lord's eternal associates and authorized devotees are pleased by his activities. That is very much concerned for that. Taking this certificate, the scholar approached Jiva Goswami for a similar certificate of defeat, but Jiva Goswami did not agree to give him one. On the contrary, he argued with him regarding the scriptures and defeated him. Certainly it was right for Jiva Goswami to stop such a dishonest scholar from advertising the defeated Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, but due to their illiteracy, the Sahajiya class referred to this incident to accuse Srila Jiva Goswami of deviating from the principle of humility.
No.
This is one of the, what do you call it? Dirty tactics that the Sahajiyas use. That, when the Acharya is very, very meticulous and clear and firm on pointing out all the different discrepancies and anomalies in the actions and motivations and philosophies of those not fixed in anukul, favorable devotional service. They try to bewilder everyone by saying, oh, this devotee is not humble. Humility means that you have to accept whatever everybody is doing and it's all good. They do not, however, know that humility and meekness are appropriate when one's own honor is insulted, but not when Lord Vishnu or the acharyas are blasphemed. In such cases, one should not be humble and meek, but must act. One should follow the example given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya says in his Shishastakam 3, Trinadapi Sunichena Tururti Saheshnuna Amanina Madhena Kirtaniya Siddhahari. One can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking himself lower than a straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Nevertheless, when the Lord was informed that Nityananda Prabhu was injured by Jagai and Madhai, immediately went to the spot, angry like fire, wanting to kill them. Thus, Lord Chaitanya has explained his verse by the example of his own behavior. One should tolerate insults against oneself, but when there is blasphemy committed against superiors, such as other Vaishnavas, one should be neither humble nor meek. One must take proper steps to counteract such blasphemy. This is the duty of a servant of a guru and Vaishnavas. Anyone who understands the principle of eternal servitude to the guru and Vaishnavas will appreciate the action of Sri Jiva Goswami in connection with the so-called scholar's victory over his gurus, Srila Rupa and Srila Sanatana Goswami. Who's making the breakfast?
Krishna Prasad.
Did it come up yet?
Yeah.
Because I put an offering there earlier and I didn't remove it, so I hope the arrangement was made that the older plate was taken away and the new plate was placed in front.
Yeah, but
You did that?
Yeah, got it. Don't mess around.
Another story fabricated to defame Sri Jiva Goswami states that when Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami showed him the newly completed manuscript of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Jiva Goswami thought it would hamper his reputation as a big scholar and therefore threw it in a well. Amazing when people can come up with such insanity, such nonsense. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was greatly shocked according to this story, and he died immediately. Fortunately, a copy of the manuscript of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita had been kept by a person named Mukunda, and therefore later it was possible to publish the book. This story is another ignominious. Ignominious. Look it up in the dictionary. It basically means stinkingly scandalous. Absolutely reprehensible. Yeah, ignominy.
Deserving or causing public disgrace or shame. Synonyms: humiliating, undignified, embarrassing, mortifying, shameful, disgraceful.
They don't register.
There you go. An ignominious example of blasphemy against the Guru and Vaishnavas. Such a story should never be accepted as authoritative. According to another accusation, Srila Jiva Goswami did not approve of the principles of Parakiya Rasa Prajadam and therefore supported Svakiya Rasa, showing that Radha and Krishna are eternally married. So, understanding the Parakiya Rasa can only be understood when one is completely free from all material desires and from all misconceptions of the so-called morality of this world, which is a morality, which is a way of thinking given as part and parcel of conditional life, so that people can think that they're okay in the illusion of thinking that they're the enjoyer in this material world. So devotees, they give up these moralities. So we're going to see here that what Jiva Goswami had to do to safeguard the super excellent understanding of Radha and Krishna's Parakiya Bhav. There's the topmost, it's on the highest level of purity and saintliness, but people were misunderstanding. Actually, when Srila Jiva Goswami was present, some of his followers disliked the Parakiya Rasa of the gopis. Therefore, Srila Jiva Goswami, for their spiritual benefit, supported Svakiya Rasa, for he could understand that the Sahajiyas would otherwise exploit the Parakiya Rasa as they're actually doing at the present time.
Oh my God.
Unfortunately, in Vrindavan and Navadvip, it has become fashionable among Sahajiyas in their debauchery to find an unmarried sexual partner to live with to execute so-called devotional service in Parakiya Rasa. The example is given that the highest thing in the spiritual world, pervertedly reflected, becomes the lowest thing. Living together, boyfriend and girlfriend, having sex whenever one wants, having abortion, contraception, changing or having multiple partners. This is the lowest thing. In the material world, people think this is...
It's like the standard of happiness.
Yeah. Foreseeing this, Srila Jiva Goswami supported Sakyavas, which is Krishna's duly, lawfully wedded Rani's queen of Dwarka. And later, all the Vaishnavacharyas also approved it. Srila Jiva Goswami was never opposed to the transcendental Parakiya Ras, nor has any other Vaishnava disapproved of it. Srila Jiva Goswami strictly followed his predecessor gurus and Vaishnavas, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami accepted him, Jiva Goswami, as his instructing guru. So, Vishnu, you have anything you could add about the glories of Jiva Goswami?
Just when you were mentioning that Krishna protects devotees, I had a story. It's not about Jiva Goswami, but I have a story. Kaliyapani, I thought I'd read out.
What?
The story of Kaliyapani Prabhu, who recently passed away.
Okay.
But it's very nice. It's an example of how Krishna protects his devotees. There's a story that came up. I can read that. So, on January 2019, at 9:30 p.m. in Alachua, I'm just going to read what was posted. Everything connected to his disappearance was wonderful. There is no doubt that everything was miraculously arranged by Krishna for his pure devotee and took him back home, back to Godhead. Kaliyapani Prabhu was riding his motorbike on road 235, which is about 5 kilometers long. He was going home. He lived near the temple, and he was going home from the man's club, where all friends, Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's disciples, discuss Krishna's pastimes and other philosophical topics. On that road, a huge truck crashed into him, and Kaliyapani Prabhu cannoned off the road right into the front yard of a devotee, Dharmaraj Prabhu, whose family lives near that very road. There's a Jagannath cart in that yard, and the deities themselves are in the house. A daughter of Dharmaraj Prabhu, after hearing the sound of the crash, runs out into the yard and sees a man lying on the earth. She takes his helmet off and understands that this is Kaliyapani Prabhu. Note that in Dharmaraj Prabhu's yard, a tape of Srila Prabhupada's japa is playing 24/7.
Wow.
They call an ambulance, and it doesn't come for hours. And so the whole family, together with Srila Prabhupada, are chanting japa around his body. An ambulance in US can never arrive so late. The reason is that there was another huge accident with several victims on Highway 75 that very day, and traffic got clogged both ways. And that was the reason for the delay. But as it were, it might have so been that the time was needed for an auspicious departure of the devotee back to Godhead. So now this devotee is commenting on the incident. Says, what chance does one stand to get into an accident and find oneself in a devotee's yard where Srila Prabhupada himself was chanting the holy name?
Wow.
Kaliyapani Prabhu has been a Sankirtan devotee for his entire life. He was a talented actor, thanks to whom every play about Krishna would become a masterpiece. He was very humble and rendered a lot of service to the temple. He would mow several hectares of grass, cut dangerous trees and branches, distribute prasadam on Sunday feasts, and without devotees' notice, he would put more juice in their cups. He would attend Mangal Arati every day, read Krishna book in the temple, and even when there was nobody. I can endlessly describe his exalted qualities. We will all be missing him very much.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's very nice. When I first heard Kaliyapani Prabhu passed away in an accident, I was feeling a little bit, but then after reading this story, I was like, wow.
I was also on the Disappearance Day of an eternal associate of Lord Nityananda.
You were mentioning Krishna protects his devotees.
Mm-hmm.
It's very inspiring stories.
I think His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, I'd seen he had written something, he had an association.
He made a video.
Do you know him from his early days back in London, or did he spend time with him in India?
No, it was as a Sankirtan Brahmachari in London.
They're in traveling man together.
Traveling Sankirtan.
Alright, so thank you all very much. We could stop here. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki, Srila
Jai.
Jagadish Pandit ki,
Jai.
Kalyapani Prabhu ki,
Jai.
Gaur Premanandi, Hare
Hare
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Ki Jai.